Lesson 4.3. What we're doing is we are graphing and finding the x and y intercepts, okay? What x and y intercepts are the place on the graph where our line crosses the x-axis and crosses the y-axis. For instance, if I were to write a graph that looks like this. Here's my y-axis and my x-axis. And I were to graph a line this point right here where the line crosses the x-axis is my x-intercept. So, Mackenzie, what would my x-intercept be on this equation? Where does it cross the x-axis at? What number? 2. So my x-intercept is 2. Zachary, where does my line cross the y-axis at? 3. So my y-intercept is 3. That's all that x and y intercepts are. That's how you find them whenever you have a graph that the line has already been drawn out for you. But what if we have an equation and I want to graph it, but I don't want to use the method that we learned yesterday, which was the make a table of values, plug in 3 different numbers, and graph it, because that can kind of be time consuming. What if I just want to do a real quick graph using x and y intercepts? Well, I can teach you how to do that. It's actually very simple. Before we move on, let's kind of explain why we do it like that. Let's think about it. This point right here. If I were to write it as an ordered pair, what would the ordered pair look like? What comma what? Zachary?
2, 0.
2 comma 0. So for the x-intercept, what is y? 0. Okay? If I wanted to write the y-intercept as an ordered pair, what would that be as an ordered pair, Valentina?
0 and 3.
0 comma 3, perfect. So for the y-intercept, what is x? 0. Do you see how they go together? For the x-intercept, our y is 0. For the y-intercept, our x is 0. So, when we have equations like this and they want us to find the x and y intercepts, we can plug in a specific number and find the x and y intercepts. So thinking back to the graph, when we found our x-intercept, what was y? Cole, it was 0. Very good. So what I'm going to do is if I want to find the x-intercept, all I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in 0 for y. I'm going to take out the y and I'm going to plug in 0. Then I just solve for x. So what's 3 times 0? 0. So basically it just kind of goes away because it's not going to do anything. And I'm left with 2x equals 6. Can I solve for x? What would I do to solve for x? Courtney? Divide by 2. And x is equal to what? 3. There's my x-intercept. So now I need to find my y-intercept. So what do you think I'm going to do to find my y-intercept? William?
Change the x to 0.
Very good. Go back to the original problem and change the x to 0. So I have 2 times 0 plus 3y is equal to 6. What happens when I multiply 2 times 0? It's 0, so it basically just goes away. 3y equals 6. So then I divide by 3. And what is my y-intercept? 2. There you go, just like that. There's my x and y intercepts. Now we'll graph them later on in the next example, but for right now I want you to do the next problem on your own, and I want you to tell me what the x and what the y-intercept is. Okay, Mary, if I wanted to find the x-intercept, what would I do? Plug in 0 for y. Very good. So we have 4x plus 3 times 0 equals 12. All right, Blaine, once I plug in that 0 right there, what am I going to do? Very good, and I'm left with 4x equals 12. Stephanie, what do I do now? Divide by 4. And what is my x-intercept, Caitlin? 3. Very good. All right, Jarrett, I found my x-intercept. Now I want to find my y. So what should I do?
Times the 4 by 0.
Okay, we're going to plug in a 0 for x. So 4 times 0 plus 3y is equal to 12. We times 4 by 0 and I get 0. So Courtney, now I have 3y is equal to 12. What am I going to do?
Divide by 3.
Divide by 3. And Brianna, what is my y-intercept?
4.
4. Very good. Okay, so now we know how to find x and y intercepts when we have equations. So now, on the next example, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to find the x and y intercepts, but then we're going to use them to make a graph. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to skip this first one, and we're going to do that second. Okay, so I'm just going to erase it. And we're going to do the second problem first. I need to find, in order to graph, I need to find the x and y intercept so I can actually make a graph. So Nishan, if I want to find the x-intercept, what am I going to do?
You're gonna add 2 on both sides.
Okay, I don't want to add 2 yet because what do I need to plug in first?
0.
0. Very good. So I'm going to do x minus 2 equals 4 times 0 because I'm plugging in the 0 for y because I want to find the x-intercept. Then, William, what am I going to do?
Add 2.
I can't add 2 just yet. Multiply 4 times 0. X minus 2 is equal to 0. Sarah, what am I going to do now?
You're going to add 2 on both sides.
Add 2 to both sides. And we get x is equal to 2. There's my x-intercept. Now I need to find my y-intercept. So Valentina, what am I going to do to find my y-intercept?
You're going to change the x to a 0.
Very good. Change x to a 0. Mackenzie, what am I going to do now?
Add 2 to both sides.
Okay, I don't want to add 2 to both sides because is there a common or a like term over here? No. So what can I simplify? Can I do 0 minus 2? Can I simplify that? To get what? Very good. Basically, the 0 doesn't really do anything, so you can drop it if you just want to, or you can say, oh, what's 0 minus 2? It's negative 2. Same thing. Okay? Brianna, what would I do now to get y by itself? Divide by 4. And watch what you're doing here because there's a lot of careless mistakes that are made on this step right here. Because what is negative 2 divided by 4? Vincent?
Negative 1/2.
Very good. Negative 1/2. Do not look at that and say, oh, it's 2. Because negative 2 divided by 4 is not 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2, but it's not written that way. Okay? So now we need to make a graph so that we can graph our x and y intercepts. Okay, I've got my graph made now, and I actually need to plot these points and graph it. Here's the main mistake people make when graphing x and y intercepts. They say, oh, we have an x and a y, so my ordered pair must be 2, negative 1/2. No, that is not correct because our x-intercept always has to be on our x-axis. So it's a totally separate point, and our y-intercept always has to be on our y-axis, and it's a totally separate point. Okay? So I'm going to go to my x-axis, and I'm going to put a point at positive 2. So I go to my x-axis, I place my point at positive 2. Then I'm going to go to my y-axis, and I'm going to go to negative 1/2. Where would negative 1/2 be on this graph, Cole?
Between negative 1 and the middle of the graph.
Okay, between the 0 and the negative 1, because it's negative 1/2. It's not quite negative 1, but it's in between. So now I've got my 2 intercepts, and I'm just going to draw a line through so that we can graph them. Remember, make sure your line extends through both points. All right. Now what I want you to do is I want you to do the next problem on your own. So the one that we skipped, this first problem right here, I want you to do it on your own. I want you to find the x and the y intercepts, and then we are going to graph it.
Still going.
All right, so somebody tell me what we are going to do to find our x-intercept first. Cole?
We're going to plug in all the numbers. So, 7 times 0 equals 14.
Very good. We plug in a 0 for y, and we solve for x. So that cancels out, and I get 3.5x equals 14. Then what would I do? Courtney?
You divide by 3.5.
Very good. And what is my x-intercept? 4. Very good. Okay, now let's find our y-intercept. Nishan, what do I do when I find my y-intercept?
You do 3.5 times 0.
Very good. Plus 7y is equal to 14. What's 3.5 times 0? 0. 7y is equal to 14, so I divide by 7. And what is my y-intercept? 2. So now I need to graph this. So let's make our graph. Okay, so my y-intercept is at 2, so I go to positive 2 on the y-axis, and my x-intercept is 4, so I go to positive 4 on my x-axis, and then I just draw a line straight through them. Okay, so that's how we would use x and y-intercepts to graph the equations. This is your homework for tonight.